Welcome everyone. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. A day after Ajit Pawar once again joined the BJP in power in Maharashtra, the Pawar versus Pawar battle has gone to the next level now. A short while ago, Ajit Pawar reiterated his claim that he has support of over 40 NCP MLAs and that he now controls the party, and it's simple. But we haven't really seen so many MLAs with him yet. Also, NCP patriarch Sharad Pawar also insists that the party and the MLAs are indeed with him, excluding the ones that took oath yesterday. His faction has also filed a plea before the Assembly Speaker to disqualify those 9 MLAs, including Ajit Pawar, for anti-party activities, while also sacking 2 of their rebel MPs. Now, let me turn the clock back for you. In 2019, Devendra, Fadnavis and Ajit Pawar took oath as CM and Deputy CM of Maharashtra in a midnight coup. That oath-taking ceremony actually was conducted secretly at 6 a.m. in the morning, with Ajit Pawar claiming support of over 40 MLAs. But days later, both had to resign as they failed to prove their majority. Now, cut to 2023, Ajit Pawar still claims he has that much support, certainly a support of 2/3 of the majority of the party, took oath in a haste manner and is yet to prove his majority. Moreover, Amol Kole, who was present at the Raj Bhavan during his swearing-in ceremony, has now rejoined the Sharad Pawar camp. So can Ajit Pawar avoid the 2019 embarrassment this time? Does he really have the numbers to win this Pawar Power Tussle? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. So as it stands, within the NCP, Ajit Pawar is claiming support of as many as 40 MLAs out of the 53 MLAs that they have, as I mentioned, although there has been no parading of these supporters just yet. Meanwhile, uncle and patriarch Sharad Pawar is also claiming that barring those 9 that took oath, everybody else is still very much with him. So that makes it 44 MLAs. What is the situation overall in Maharashtra? If you go by Ajit Pawar claims, then BJP Shinde government gets a huge bump from 145 to 185. Because if he does indeed have MLAs, 40 MLAs with him, then he can avoid the anti-defection law. On the other side, from 154 in 2019, the Mahavikas Aghadi has now come down to just 74. 2 times they're witnessing their alliance partners go through a split. This one is still pending though. Again, this is if Ajit Pawar's claim sustains. But it doesn't look like it is materializing for him just yet, because his uncle is not backing off. After Supriya Sule's public request and letter, Sharad Pawar has actually removed Praful Patel and Sunil Tatkare, the rebel leaders, as parliamentarians from the party. Praful Patel's photo was also dramatically removed from the NCP's national office in Delhi. He has clearly become persona non grata, even though he keeps saying that Sharad Pawar is their leader. Sharad Pawar camp also moved a disqualification plea against 9 NCP MLAs who took oath, including Ajit. Sharad Pawar claims support of the majority of the MLAs, as I mentioned, barring those 9 who were seen with Ajit Pawar. NCP immediately appointed Jitendra Awar as the new leader of opposition after Ajit took oath as the Deputy Chief Minister. Ajit Pawar and Praful Patel, meanwhile, met Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis today. There was also a picture released. And Ajit Pawar faction has appointed him as the Chief of Legislative Party. And Sunil Tatkare has been appointed as the new NCP State Chief. They insist they have the requisite number. There are obvious questions being raised by critics on the BJP's move to align once again with the party and a faction that they have blamed for corruption in the past. In fact, since the 2019 bid of Ajit Pawar failed, BJP, when it came back to power with Shinde this time, mounted even more charges of corruption against the very people who have now taken oath as ministers. So Ajit Pawar himself faces the Maharashtra Cooperation Bank and irrigation projects probes. Chhagan Bhujbal is another name who is still facing a money laundering case by the ED and probe in the Mumbai University corruption case. Hassan Mushrif is another one who has taken oath as a minister. He's been raided by the ED recently. He's been linked with irregularities by a sugar factory. And Aditi Tatkare, also somebody who took oath yesterday. Her father, Sunil Tatkare, is facing irrigation scam probe. So apart from the questions of propriety, of course, fundamentally, what is the big tussle right now? And that tussle is the power tussle. Of course, those questions don't go away. But even as we speak right now, it is really not clear if this this roll of the dice of Ajit Pawar will be successful this time around or not.
ये काय के लिए पूछता है क्योंकि आई एम हेडिंग पार्टी, आई एम प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द पार्टी। कोर्ट में केस थी तो कोर्ट ने
कांग्रेस पे तो अभी हमारी संख्या बल है वो सबसे ज़्यादा तो हमारा रहेगा महाविकास आघाड़ी में, तो विपक्ष का नेता तो कांग्रेस को ही मिलेगा।
त्याच्यामध्ये त्या केंद्राचा फायदा देखील राज्याच्या विविध विकास कामांच्या करता जो निधी लागतो, परवानग्या लागतात।
Let's go across to the full panel. Joining us, Tohin Sinha from the BJP, Krishna Hegde is from the Shiv Sena Shinde faction, CS Jha is from the Shiv Sena UBT faction. I'm also joined by Faizan Mirza of the NCP with the Sharad Pawar camp, Sujata Paul of the Congress Party, Smita Prakash of the ANI. I do thank all of you for your time. There are too many factions in Maharashtra now. It's very difficult to say who's in government and who's in opposition. But jokes aside, we have a lot of guests, so I request all of you to please be brief in your opening statements so that I can go across everyone and take their points. Let me begin with CS Jha of the Shiv Sena UBT faction and then, of course, Faizan Mirza. CS Jha, it looks like history is repeating. There are so many contradictions between some of these regional parties in Maharashtra because of what transpired in 2019. It's all coming back to haunt you. Something must be fundamentally wrong within your parties, the Shiv Sena earlier and the NCP now, that this is happening to you.
See, there is nothing wrong in the party. If somebody choose to become a traitor, so you cannot allege that the whole party becomes an irrelevant. The situation right now, which we see in Maharashtra from 2019 till today, the mutiny has been brought by some kind of division which has been put into the party, and they have to divide it. Now, the BJP is the major playing role in this kind of situation. And it is not Maharashtra only, it is other states also, they are doing the same. Now, the BJP wants to rule the country by doing a divide and rule system introduced into this kind of regional parties, and they are doing
Mr.
so by
Mr. Jha, can the BJP not claim that this betrayal of the public mandate was actually started by the Shiv Sena, by Uddhav Thackeray? Now,
See,
all is fair game.
If you say fairly that if there is a betrayal, then why BJP is not facing an election? That is a major question put to BJP also. That if there is a betrayal, they should go to the mandate. They should go for the mandate before the public, and they should collaborate the same. That see, we have the mandate and we are carrying on with the mandate, and therefore we are eligible to sit on the chair.
All right,
but
fair enough. I'll take that to the BJP representative. Very quickly, I'm taking opening comments right now. Faizan Mirza is from the NCP Sharad Pawar camp. Why is it that Ajit Pawar keeps doing this to you? ये क्यों करते रहते हैं बार-बार? अब दूसरी बार कर रहे हैं और मतलब आप इनको संभाल क्यों नहीं पा रहे हैं?
Ajit Pawar has been blackmailed by BJP. 3 days prior, the Prime Minister of country told that NCP is a party who has done the scam of 70,000 crores. It was the statement of the Prime Minister. It was not a statement. I think that it was a threat from him कि हमारे पास आ जाओ नहीं तो हम तुमको फंसा देंगे. लेकिन यहाँ पर सवाल ये है कि अगर ये लोग भ्रष्टाचारी होते तो इनके साथ में भारतीय जनता पार्टी सरकार नहीं बनाती. ये लोग ईमानदार और सच्चे हैं, इन लोगों को धमकी दी गई झूठे केस में फंसाने की, इसलिए ये लोग चले गए. अब मसला ये है कि जो पार्टी का पूरा कैडर है और हम लोग हैं, हम लोग माननीय पवार साहब के साथ खड़े हैं और आखिरी दम तक हम लोग लड़ेंगे और पवार साहब के साथ खड़े रहेंगे. महाराष्ट्र की जनता आने वाले वक्त में इसका जवाब सिर्फ और सिर्फ भारतीय जनता पार्टी को देगी कि उन्होंने जो कुछ भी किया महाराष्ट्र में, जिस तरह की जो राजनीति वो कर रहे हैं वो बहुत ही गलत है और उसकी घोर निंदा महाराष्ट्र की जनता वोट के रूप में करेगी.
नहीं, बट वो प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि जो गलत है उसका तो एक बेंचमार्क सेट हो गया है ना. जब एनसीपी और कांग्रेस और शिवसेना के लिए सही था साथ में आना, तो अब तो आप किसी और पे सवाल नहीं उठा सकते ना.
अभी मुझे नहीं मुझे एक बात बताइए 2019 में शिवसेना जब एनसीपी से अलग हुई तो वो ये कहते हुए हुई कि मुख्यमंत्री पद हमें चाहिए. ये बीजेपी से जब अलग हुई तो ये कहा कि हमको मुख्यमंत्री पद चाहिए, बीजेपी ने उनकी डील नहीं मानी तो अलग हो गए।
हाँ।
अब ऐसा अचानक क्या हुआ कि 2.5 साल बाद बीजेपी ने मुख्यमंत्री पद शिंदे जी को दे दिया?
नहीं,
इसका
वो
ये
उनका
मतलब है
मामला
कि
है।
बीजेपी
आप
खुद
मुझे
ही तोड़ना
नहीं, ये
चाहती है
बात सही नहीं है। वो उनका मामला है, वो किसी को भी दे कैन चेंज देयर माइंड, कोई सेट रूल तो नहीं है। लेकिन आपने भी तो धोखा दिया ना पब्लिक मैंडेट को।
2000 नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं धोखा दिया।
आपने भी तो अपनी आइडियोलॉजी से कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया। आप तो शिवसेना जैसी पार्टी के साथ चले गए।
एक मिनट मुझे ये बताइए, 20 साल से भारतीय जनता पार्टी महाराष्ट्र में जिन लोगों को कोस कर वोट लेते आई है लोगों के, आज उन्हीं के साथ जाके बैठ गई।
बिल्कुल, वो सही सवाल है, लेकिन आप पे भी तो सवाल उठा था ना 3 साल पहले।
बिल्कुल नहीं। हमने कभी भी शिवसेना को, बाला साहब ठाकरे और पवार साहब की दोस्ती तो जग जाहिर है।
दोस्ती तो का मतलब पॉलिटिकल अलायंस थोड़ा ना होता है इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स में।
बिल्कुल मैं ये बोल रहा हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने जो राजनीति महाराष्ट्र के अंदर की है वो लोगों के सामने है, वो जग जाहिर है, और इसका बहुत बड़ा खामियाजा भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जनता के सामने वोट के रूप में भुगतना पड़ेगा।
Okay, all right, fair enough. Let me also go across quickly to Smita Prakash, who's also with us. A quick comment from an outsider, or at least, not a non-politician, before I go back to the politicians. Smita Prakash, even as we speak, is it looking like a done deal? Is it deja vu or redux done better? Because I can't figure it out.
No, Shivani, I don't think anything is a done deal now after seeing the ulat palat which has happened in Maharashtra. The churn is, and since 2019, in fact, not just in the past 1 year, the churn is certainly not over. I mean, manthan abhi chalu hai. So, final picture, if there is something called a final picture these days in politics, that has not yet emerged because surprisingly, Supriya Sule is now flexing her muscles. She's insisted on expelling the senior leaders. I don't think it would have been in Sharad Pawar's nature to have expelled Ajit Pawar or Praful Patil for that matter. And Sharad Pawar in this winter years of his politics saying that he will rebuild the party again sounds a little incredible, but then it's anyone's guess, because you really can't write off Sharad Pawar is something that most political reporters have learnt a lesson that, just when you think that he's in oblivion, he's not. He's somebody who's been, and in fact, I just interviewed Devendra Fadnavis and he himself said that don't at ever point think that, the opposition unity moves which are happening are without Sharad Pawar maneuvering everybody, because some of the opposition leaders can't even sit in a room and look eye to eye, and for them to sit together on a panel and get about doing it, it's Sharad Pawar's doing. So I think right now, currently, the immediate challenge for this new grouping which has come together in Maharashtra would be the scenario that if in case, in that remote possibility of the speaker disqualifying the Shiv Sena of Eknath Shinde, the BJP now seems to be having the backing of these NCP defectors. And I think currently the number is 40, but then who knows if some of them leave. Even then, they're in a comfortable situation with the NCP. So if that happens, this Eknath Shinde's 15 Shiv Sena MLAs, if they get disqualified, the BJP has the NCP breakaway faction with them, and so the disqualification of the entire team and the falling of the government will not happen. That's the first challenge I think Fadnavis had,
but
or Eknath Shinde had, and that has been taken care of.
But they need 36 to prevent that anti-defection law from coming into play. And does Mr. Fadnavis or Mr. Pawar feel they're confident that Mr. Pawar has as many?
So Ajit Pawar seems to be saying 40 plus.
Yes.
So 40 plus abhi hai, and they are presuming that, they will be able to do it. Look, I don't think Fadnavis would take any chances after the embarrassment of the 2019 debacle. I think for him to make this Chanakya-like move, this chess move that he has done, he would have had to prove to the leadership in Delhi, Amit Shah, Modi combine, and Nadda and everybody else that, he is able to break away. So without having the numbers, I doubt that Pawar would again take the plunge and do that. I think, of course, it is difficult to keep the flock together, and Sharad Pawar's magnetic pull in the NCP cannot be denied. But to use the word traitor and Vibhishan, I think for Praful Patel or for Ajit Pawar would be counterproductive at this stage when you're trying to incentivize people to come back to your team.
Well, Praful Patel has lost his MPship because that can be done without the Speaker's jurisdiction. So that they've already done. Yes, Mr. Hegde, I'm just going to come to you, but I just want to go to Faizan Mirza one more time on the issue of, Ajit Pawar. The sense we are getting from even loyalists like you, Sharad Pawar loyalists like you, if I can say that on a day like today, is that you're also not confident about the numbers. You may have moved a disqualification.
No one is confident about the number.
No one is confident. Okay, that's a candid. That's a candid admission.
Yes. And there are only, but according to my information, there are only 9 people with Ajit Pawar who have took the oath yesterday. Only that people, that MLAs are with him. Rest MLAs are coming back, and till 5th of July, you will see some change.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that. I'll come back to you. Yes, Krishna Hegde and Tuhin Sinha now. Please tell me how you're going to defend. Let's go to Tuhin Sinha. Please tell me how you're going to defend the charges of doing exactly what you blame your opponents for, which is betraying the public's mandate. In this case, going twice with somebody who you have called corrupt in the past. In fact, the ministers who took oath yesterday, several of them have been attacked by your party leaders just in the last 1 year. How is this okay? Tuhin Sinha?
Good evening, Shivani. Good evening, Shivani. Good evening, everybody. First of all, let me say this with a lot of responsibility, that only 2 people are responsible for the repeated chaos that you have witnessed in Maharashtra in the last 3.5 years, and that is Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar. The mandate was always for a BJP-led coalition. We won 161 seats in coalition with Shiv Sena, 42.6%. After that, since we are repeatedly accused of betrayal, it was Shiv Sena which fought in our name, at places even in the name of Devendra Fadnavis-ji, and eventually they betrayed.
Yes, but time has moved on from there.
Having said that, it was important to finish off the NCP once and for all, the Sharad Pawar-led NCP, because, they have always, for the last 45 years, they have always been betraying people's mandates. They have, in fact, whatever Ajit Pawar ji or, Praful Patel may do today, somewhere they have learned.
No, 1 second. Tuhin Sinha, can I just hold you 1 second? You're saying it was important to finish off the NCP? That is the BJP's mission?
The Sharad Pawar-led NCP, because Sharad Pawar, like I mentioned, along with Uddhav Thackeray, were primarily responsible for the chaos that the state has witnessed in the last 3.5 years, despite a very clear mandate for a BJP-led.
So you are accepting this is BJP's revenge?
Well, we are looking at the larger picture. In 2024, it is important for us to ensure a very clear majority, and for that, Ajit Pawar has he is an able administrator. He has proved it over the years. Now, I do understand that there are some charges of corruption, which in fact,
just some charges of corruption. I love how you are just adding this as an afterthought, as a footnote. कल तक आपके leaders videos release कर रहे थे exactly इन्हीं leaders के खिलाफ.
Yes, that's the point.
That political decisions by certain MLAs and the ED investigation are 2 separate issues, and I will give you the example of Mukul Rai. When Mukul Rai, joined the BJP, you again accused us of saying you've taken him because, he has ED charges. Now he has gone back to TMC. Does that mean the cases are reopened? In some cases, it is difficult because of the complex nature of the financial dealings, because of the complex nature of money laundering charges. Sometimes they take over 10 years.
Okay.
But I can tell you...
No, 1 second. Let me go to others with this as well. Sujata Paul is waiting. But, I'm quite fascinated because the exact charge to Hinsana... Yes, Krishna ji, I'm coming to you next. The exact charge the BJP faces is that they are one by one trying to eliminate and finish off regional parties. So, Hinsana, you've almost virtually accepted to that. Now, that will be a question raised on you. Whether you can use all kinds of machinery or even berths in the cabinet or ministership as some sort of a means to destroy regional parties.
No, we have in fact created a new regional party. Eknath Shinde is the real Shiv Sena. We have helped create a new regional party. So that is out of question. But yes, perfidious parties, which include, the Uddhav Thackeray-led Shiv Sena and the Sharad Pawar-led NCP are responsible for the mess that you see in Maharashtra in the last 3.5 years.
Okay, but does that mean that you're going to be on a mission to quote-unquote finish off certain parties? I'll come back to that. Tuhin Sinha, I have to take some opening remarks from Krishna Hegde as well. Krishna Hegde, are you worried? Now the BJP doesn't need Shiv Sena, the Shinde faction anymore that much.
No, not at all. We are a triple engine Sarkar and we will work for the people of Maharashtra with the speed of a bullet train. Having said that, I also want to say that I want to reply to what the other panelists have said.
Yes.
Today we have got a numerical strength of 274 in the House and the entire combined opposition has got not even 70 or 74. And then the Uddhav Thackeray faction just told me, the panelist said that we should fight the election. Firstly, he does not know possibly that a petition is filed in the Supreme Court where they have made an appeal against the local bodies. One first for the number of wards in Mumbai and then regarding the OBC, reservation in local bodies. And that is why the elections are not happening. And anyway, I challenge them to have an election. I challenge them to have an election because today they are not even a factor of, in Maharashtra. The Uddhav Thackeray faction is got 12 MLAs. And I will tell you another thing, that today they have no power. I can say another thing, that Praful Bhai and Sunil Tatkare are not going to be disqualified because you don't have a right to recall. There is no law called right to recall where if someone has moved out. Otherwise, we are the actual Shiv Sena. Lot of, Rajya Sabha MPs from Uddhav Thackeray's faction, including Sanjay Raut, would have been disqualified by us. They are still not disqualified.
नहीं but वो तो दो अलग पार्टी हो गई ना कृष्णा एकनाथ, वो तो दो अलग पार्टी हो गई. यहाँ पे तो अभी पार्टी किसकी है ये तो बचा है ना अभी.
We are the Shiv Sena and Ajit Pawar ji has clearly said that he is the NCP and the Election Commission has granted us the symbol of Shiv Sena and also the name of Shiv Sena because we hold the absolute majority. And the same is with Ajit Dada. He's got a list of around 42 MLAs till now and the list is already growing.
But he had the list in 2019 also. No, Krishna Hegde, once again, he had the list in 2019 also.
No, in 2019, it was Sharad Pawar Saab who sent Ajit Dada there after striking a deal with the BJP and backed off in the last minute and then recalled all the MLAs and said, do not go. So that was again what Ajit Dada did with Sharad.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question.
Sharad Pawar Saab did with Ajit Dada. And what they are calling traitors, you are calling 50 MLAs who left you traitors. You are calling 13 MPs who left you traitors. Now you are calling Ajit Dada's 42 MLAs traitors. And who are the loyalists? The coterie of Uddhav Thackeray who run the party, the four-member coterie of Uddhav Thackeray who run the party, who have no grassroots support, who are mostly from Rajya Sabha and MLC, they are loyalists. These parties are built with people who have elective merit and who can win elections.
That's fair enough.
Now,
Mr. Hegde, you're not understanding. There are multiple layers of questions here. There may be a question of who was running the party right or who did right by the party. But there's another moral propriety question on taking away MLAs after verdicts. Now I can understand that Uddhav Thackeray also did the same. I get that.
Who's taking away the MLAs? We are the actual party. They are a fringe element today. We are the actual party. The election commission.
What is Ajit Pawar doing?
Both for the name and as for the numerical strength and also for the symbol. So Uddhav Thackeray is not Shiv Sena. He is UBT.
No, that's fine. But I'm saying that when that happened and when what's happening within the NCP also, there will be questions asked on what is going on. Do MLAs not care anymore about whom they're aligning with? Does the public mandate, their voter base not care anymore? Are you telling me the NCP voter base and the BJP Sena voter base is the same?
See, the elections were fought, like Tuhin said, with the BJP and Shiv Sena together in 2019 and the mandate was given by the public of Maharashtra for 2019 for the Shiv Sena and BJP, not for NCP, Congress and...
Sir, I get that, but आप भी तो वही कर रहे हो ना अब?
So, no, हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम तो mandate का respect कर रहे हैं. हम तो साथ में गए.
Okay, Faizan wants to come in very quickly, then I have to go to Sujata as well. Sujata is waiting very patiently.
We are the Shiv Sena.
Let Faizan respond.
And Bala Saheb Thackeray ji has said, जो दिन मुझे कांग्रेस राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस
वो पुरानी बात हो गई सर, अब वो डिस्कस कर लिया हमने. उसमें मॉरल रिस्पांसिबिलिटी जिसकी थी उन्होंने भुगत भी लिया. बट आज की जो सिचुएशन है उसका सवाल तो उठाया जाएगा. फैजान वेरी क्विकली, सुजाता पॉल इज वेटिंग.
कोटरी के वजह से, कोटरी के वजह से
कल राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस पार्टी की कार्याध्यक्षा सुप्रिया सुले का एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ, जिसमें उन्होंने उल्लेख किया एक बात का कि कांग्रेस से एक नेता बीजेपी में आए हैं, महाराष्ट्र के है वो ये कहते हैं कि जब से मैं बीजेपी में आया हूं तब से मुझे नींद बड़ी अच्छी लगती है, ईडी का मेरे को और सीबीआई का डर नहीं सताता है। पूरे महाराष्ट्र की जनता एक चीज कह रही है, वॉशिंग पाउडर भाजपा, दूध सी सफेदी भाजपा से आई, बड़े से बड़ा भ्रष्टाचारी साफ हो जाए, सबकी पसंद भाजपा।
आपको लग रहा है कि 80 विधायक जो क्रॉस हुए वो डर के क्रॉस हुए क्या? 2-3 के ऊपर होंगे ईडी, तो 80 कहाँ से गए? और जो सांसद है किनके ऊपर ईडी लगी है? और आप इतने शरीफ बन रहे हैं, लालू प्रसाद यादव पे सीबीआई किसने लगाई? मुलायम सिंह यादव पे सीबीआई किसने लगाई? 50 सरकारें इसके पहले किसने, कांग्रेस ने गिराई ना ईडी और सीबीआई को।
सुनिए तो सही, अरे आप
मोरालिटी
शरीफ मत बनिए हेगड़े साहब, आप भी मोरालिटी की बात मत कीजिए,
मोरालिटी की बात मत कीजिए, मोरालिटी की बात
आप भी महाराष्ट्र में किस तरह की कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं ना। 2014 में आप ही के नेता का कहना था, 2014 में आप ही के नेता का कहना था कि मुझे बीजेपी के साथ नहीं रहना, मैं इस्तीफा दे रहा हूं, अपनी जेब में इस्तीफा रख कर आए थे शिंदे साहब, और ये कहा था कि बीजेपी शिवसेना को खत्म कर रही है। ये बात आप ध्यान रखिए, आप यहाँ पर मोरालिटी और सच्चाई की बात मत कीजिए, मुखौटा उतार दूंगा आपकी सच्चाई का यहाँ पर।
I want to go across to Sujata Paul. 1 second, gentlemen, just hold on. Sujata Paul, I want to come to you on the question of this whole ED thing. Now, recently, one of your MLAs was taken in by the TMC in West Bengal. You naturally raised a question over that. TMC is even, a like-minded party. Now, question that arose there was that TMC doesn't have ED and CBI under it, right? Your MLA still jumped ship. So, is this a justification enough that there are investigations against some MLAs and that's why they changed their sides? Some do, some have investigations, they never move. It has to be more than that, no?
It has to be more than that because 2024 elections are just around the corner and Vinash Kale Viprit. And now from Maha Vikas Aghadi, it is Maha Vinash Aghadi. Now, I was listening to some of the panelists and they were talking about Shiv Sena and BJP got the mandate. Did NCP also get the mandate? Today, that faction of NCP which is with them, and tomorrow will they be able to accuse Ajit Pawar, Chhagan, Bhujbal, Praful Patil, any one of them of corruption? And if you remember, Ram Kadam and I think you mentioned it also, Ram Kadam and Kirit Somaiya, every day they were making videos and putting them up and accusing these people of corruption. But the most important point is that today the BJP spokesperson sits on your panel and he says that yes, it is necessary to finish off the smaller parties, just like Mr. JP Nadda said. But I also think that the BJP is in such disarray that their spokespersons are at a loss of words. They don't know how to defend this entire thing. And this is Mr. Modi's mother of democracy. Because when he was talking about there is democracy in the country, this is the kind of democracy that they were talking about. Where, you have to also remember that this country is basically a very emotional country. So we need to wait and watch as to how people are going to react to this betrayal of Sharad Pawarji and how, things pan out in the future.
Yes.
Sorry. No, I'm talking about Sharad Pawarji.
Betrayal
how people are going to react to it.
But can I just ask you very quickly, Tuhin, I'll give you an opportunity. Can I just ask you, Sujata Paul, does the Congress believe, Tuhin, I'll come to you. Does the Congress believe that any of this happens without Sharad Pawar's approval? Sujata Paul.
Well, we all know about Mr. Sharad Pawar. He's a very, very deep man and nobody can say what exactly is happening till things start unfolding. We saw Ajit Pawar go play kabaddi and came back. Well, you are the ones who want Ajit Pawar, right? You are the ones who accused him of corruption and you are the ones who are being desperate and you are frustrated that you want to form the government with them again and again because you want to set a narrative. But don't forget that this is an emotional country and people are watching you, people are recognizing what Modi's mother of democracy is all about. This is Modi's
it's so funny that the Congress...
Yes, but I'm coming to it.
Can I come in? You are funny because, you're talking about creating Eknath.
Okay, 1 second. Krishna Hegde, please don't speak over others. Please don't speak over others. Smita, I'll come to you, but let Tuhin respond to what Sujata Paul said.
my words have been repeatedly distorted by the Congress. I never said that the BJP is off to finish off smaller parties. I said two people were responsible for the chaos that Maharashtra has witnessed.
Finish off NCP. It was necessary to finish off NCP. That's what you said. And that is your purpose. You want to finish off the Shiv Sena, finish off everybody, but you cannot finish off everybody one, and the Congress stands in front of you. Congress is standing in front of you, and you will be wiped out. Like you were wiped out from Karnataka, wiped out from Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
You do not exist in Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh.
Okay, let's just stick to the subject. I cannot allow this. 1 second, please, both of you not at the same time. Yes, Smita, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, Shivani, even if Tuhin didn't say that, just for a minute, let's imagine that maybe the BJP or somebody in the BJP says that they want to decimate the NCP and poach from the NCP. My question is, why be surprised? The Congress in Karnataka openly said that the JDS did not deserve to exist, that it should be decimated. Jairam Ramesh said that. The national parties are quite clear that the smaller parties which eat the votes, not which are, regional parties, but smaller parties which eat away their voter share, they are well within their ambit to poach their people and to decimate them. The Congress realized that they had not done that, and they vacated the space for an Aam Aadmi party to rise. And that is why the Aam Aadmi party is in Delhi and in Punjab. And a section of the Congress does not want to align with the AAP and wants to eat away the vote share of the AAP. Why? Because they took away their vote share.
Yeah.
So I think alliances and coalitions are good, with the good, bad and ugly are fine. And that is part of our electoral democracy.
Okay.
No,
but I
it is
think
not.
a larger question on what does the public mandate even mean anymore if parties keep switching sides and their alliances without any, without any history and without any common understanding of what issues they stand for, is a larger question for our democracy, anti-defection law, aside. But I've run out of time. I leave it at that. I do thank our guests for joining us. And it looks like the story is not quite over yet, because we're still to see whether either side can produce the numbers that they're talking about. I also spoke to Arvind Sawant, MP of the Uddhav Shiv Sena, on what seems to be deja vu of the split that Sena witnessed last year, repeating this time for the NCP. This is what he had to say.
जो कुछ हुआ वो सारा असंवैधानिक हुआ है। आप हार मानते हो, आप स्वीकारते भी हो सकते, हम नहीं स्वीकारते उसे। इलेक्शन कमीशन का बर्ताव एक गुलाम जैसे था, लाइक अ स्लेव। दे डिड नॉट डिलीवर द जस्टिस, दे फेवर्ड वन पीपल, वन पार्टी, which is unconstitutional, to which we have given a challenge in the Supreme Court now. अब रही बात जो कुछ हमारे साथ हुआ, अगर हम इतने कमजोर है, बहन जी आपको लगता है हम कमजोर हो गए हैं, तो फिर मुंबई में चुनाव क्यों नहीं होते? मुंबई महानगर पालिका के चुनाव क्यों नहीं हो रहे? राज्य में जिला परिषद पंचायत समिति के चुनाव क्यों नहीं हो रहे? हम तो कमजोर है ना भैया, आपके साथ हार गए ना, तो जीतने वाले चुनाव क्यों नहीं ले रहे? पूछो तो सही।
सर, आपको क्या लगता है कि
असंवैधानिक तरीके से किसी पार्टी को नाम लेना, उसका चुनाव चिन्ह छीन लेना संवैधानिक नहीं था, इसलिए हम हार नहीं मानते।
जी,
बिकाऊ लोग तो थे तभी भी, इतिहास में अभी भी बिकाऊ लोग हैं, कुछ डर के मारे जाते हैं, कुछ बेचे जाते हैं।
अब ये ओथ तो हो गई है कल 9 मिनिस्टर्स की, आपको क्या लगता है कि अभी भी वो लोग वापस आएंगे शरद पवार जी के साथ?
नहीं, उस पर मैं बयान नहीं दूंगा, लेकिन आप नजरअंदाज कर रहे हो, नजरअंदाज ये कर रहे हो आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का स्टेटमेंट। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इनके ऊपर आरोप लगाए भरी सभा में, कार्यक्रम में, उनकी पार्टी की होगी कोई मालूम नहीं। एनसीपी पार्टी द मोस्ट करप्ट पार्टी, अगर भ्रष्टाचारी, उन्होंने कहा ना, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि नहीं कहा? फिर आगे चलकर कहा सिंचाई प्रकल्प में भ्रष्टाचार हुआ है, बैंकों में भ्रष्टाचार हुआ है, 75,000 करोड़ का भ्रष्टाचार हुआ। भाई भ्रष्टाचारी को क्यों लिया भैया? पूछो तो से सवाल, कभी उधर हमें पूछने के पहले उधर पूछो ना। पूछने की हिम्मत है आप में कि उन जाके पूछोगे कि प्रधानमंत्री जी आपने तो कहा था भ्रष्टाचारी, सब ले लिए? हाँ, पिछले 15 दिन के बीच में वो मुस्लिम साहब के घर में रेड डाली थी, आईडी ने 2 बार रेड डाली, वो आज मंत्री बने राज्य के। सारा असंवैधानिक काम करने वाली पार्टी विद डिफरेंस बीजेपी। माननीय देवेंद्र जी फडणवीस की जो वीडियो क्लिपिंग चाहिए तो मैं अभी बताऊं, किसी भी हालत में हम राष्ट्रवादी पार्टी के साथ नहीं जाएंगे, किसी भी हालत में हम अजित पवार को कभी पार्टी में नहीं लेंगे। ये उनके बयान है भैया, मेरे नहीं है। वो भी तो जरा साथ में दिखाते रहो ना, लोगों के लिए थोड़ा ज्ञान मिल जाएगा कैसी पलटी मारती है पार्टी। वो भी तो समझने दो, पार्टी विद डिफरेंस कैसी पलटी मारती है।
सर मैं जानती हूँ आप एनसीपी
अजित
के विषय
पवार
पे
विल बी चक्की पीसिंग, डायलॉग सुनो, पूरा डायलॉग सुनो। अजित पवार विल बी चक्की पीसिंग, चक्की पीसिंग, चक्की पीसिंग। कौन कहता है? देवेंद्र फडणवीस। आज उसके साथ में उप मुख्यमंत्री भैया, अब पिसेगा क्या? क्या पिसने वाले हो? जानते हो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय की वजह से इस सरकार को जाना पड़ेगा। मुख्यमंत्री को वो तो अपात्र कर देंगे। 16 लोग पहले विधायक तो 16 जाएंगे, उसके बाद में बाकी भी निकल जाएंगे। सरकार को बचाना कैसे है? चोरों को भी ले लो, भ्रष्टाचारी को ले लो, लेकिन सरकार सत्ता बरकरार रखो। पार्टी विद डिफरेंस।
ये क्यों बार बार हो रहा है एनसीपी में? क्या शरद पवार को जगह नहीं मिली ढंग से अपनी ही पार्टी में, इसलिए वो मजबूर हो रहे हैं? क्या ये भी सही नहीं होगा कहना?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं लगता, क्योंकि मैंने अभी बताया आपको कि प्रधानमंत्री जी के स्टेटमेंट के बाद में ये सब डरे थे। बीच में आपको याद है कि ये जड्डेश्वर शुगर फैक्ट्री है, वो जड्डेश्वर की शुगर फैक्ट्री भी अजित पवार साहब उसको लीड करते हैं, उसके ऊपर रेड गिरी थी। अजित पवार साहब के रिश्तेदारों के घर में भी रेड गिरी थी। बहन भूल गए क्या? उनके बहन के घर में रेड गिरी थी। परेशान तो थे ही वो। अब ये सब दबाना, दबाव तंत्र इस्तेमाल करना, ये आते हो तो बोलो, नहीं तो उधर जेल में जाओ, ये धमकाने वाली बात है। और वो हो गया, जान गए कि भाई ये सरकार जा रही गिरेगी। अब उनको उनकी हालत बीजेपी की हालत नहीं है, तो फिर ये तो उनकी कमजोरी है बीजेपी की कि उन्होंने भ्रष्टाचारियों को न्योता दिया, आ जाओ भैया हमें सरकार बचानी है
जी।
न्योता देकर स्वागत नहीं किया, सत्कार किया मंत्री पद देकर।
जी, तो आप ये कह रहे हैं कि जो शिवसेना के 16 विधायक जिनके ऊपर डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन का मसला अभी पेंडिंग है, वो तो डिस्क्वालीफाई होंगे ही। अब एनसीपी की जो लीडरशिप है, शरद पवार, सुप्रिया सुले, उन्होंने ये जो 9 लोगों ने शपथ ली है, उनका डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन का भी प्ली डाला है। और जो 2 एमपी प्रफुल्ल पटेल और सुनील तटकरे उनके साथ दिखे थे, उनको भी डिस्क्वालीफाई करने की बात कही गई है। क्या आपको लगता है कि एनसीपी के बीच में जो वॉर चल रहा है, जो उनका इंटरनल टसल चल रहा है, इसमें कौन जीतेगा? आपको क्या लगता है?
कौन जीतेगा? जिसकी महाशक्ति वहां बैठी है ना, जिसने इलेक्शन कमीशन जैसे गुलाम खड़े करी है, कौन जीतेगा बताना पड़ता है क्या? हमको इतनी तकलीफ क्यों हुई बताना पड़ेगा?
नहीं सर, मेरा सवाल ये नहीं है कि इलेक्शन कमीशन किसको डिसाइड करेगा। मेरा सवाल ये है कि लोग शरद पवार के साथ हैं या अजीत पवार के साथ हैं?
अभी अब पहले प्रश्न का सवाल जवाब देता हूँ पहले
जी।
अच्छा, उनको कौन करेगा? स्पीकर करेगा। किसके पास लेटर देंगी? सुप्रिया सुले जी, लोकसभा स्पीकर, और दूसरा विधानसभा स्पीकर। क्या स्पीकर करेगा? आप ही जवाब दे दो ना। डिस्क्वालीफाई करेगा? वो तो प्रफुल्ल पटेल जी और सुनील तटकरे को उन्होंने नॉमिनेट किया। किसने? माननीय अध्यक्ष शरद पवार साहब ने। इलेक्टेड नहीं है वो, नॉमिनेटेड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द पार्टी। So you can withdraw that and say it. I don't want it. I have removed them from the party's post. But how to disqualify? Disqualification will be done by the speaker. And then speaker, who is the speaker? The party who is doing all these things, conspiring all these things, their man is the speaker. Will he deliver justice? Do you expect it?
But
therefore,
sir, for that,
the democracy is in danger in this country.
But sir, for that, either side has to prove who has the majority support of the MLAs. Now, Ajit Pawar claims 40. Mr. Sharad Pawar is saying that the party and most of the MLAs are indeed with him.
Where it can be decided? It can be decided in the assembly, not outside. Where he has to prove that these are the people with me. Or he can bring it them to the governor of Maharashtra and say that these are the guys are with me. And then that number can be recognized. But other also, the party will not stand. He cannot say, I claim the party. He can take advantage of the 3/4, the constitutional provision. If the 3/4 of the people are leaving the party, they can leave the party. But they have to join the party. They cannot have the separate existence as per the provisions of the Constitution, Article 10 of the Constitution.
ओके नाउ अजीत पवार ने 2 बार ट्राई कर लिया है कि वो अपनी पार्टी को खींच के भाजपा की सरकार के साथ जुड़ जाइए, दूसरी बार हो रहा है और उन्होंने ओथ भी दूसरी बार ले ली है। आपको क्या लगता है ये दाव उनका चलेगा या नहीं चलेगा या वापस आना पड़ेगा उनको?
ये तो जनता की कोर्ट में बताएंगे। जनता की कोर्ट में जब जाएंगे तब पता चलेगा। तब तक ये महाशक्ति वहां बैठी है ऊपर और ये कंस्पायर करने वाले लोग इसको खींचते रहेंगे। उनकी संस्थाएं हैं, वो संस्थाएं तारीख की तारीख देती रहेगी जब तक चुनाव आएगा। चुनाव पीपल्स कोर्ट में वो ज्यादा अच्छा है। जनता की कोर्ट में उसका निर्णय होगा, वो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा और वही ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा, वो सही निर्णय होगा।
All right, on that note, time for us to slip into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you what's happening as far as Europe is concerned. Now, the riots that kick-started over the teenagers killing in France are spreading to other countries as well. Is multiculturalism failing in Europe?
Right now is Congress, but we've seen that NCP has clearly laid out that the leader of opposition right now is from NCP, which is Jitendra Awad. So here there are grounds being laid. There's groundwork which is being done, a solid groundwork, so that if any kind of a legal action that takes place after this, it goes in their favor, because while these MLAs have moved out of NCP, while they're sitting MLAs, it goes as a defection from the existing party. But the previous Shiv Sena order of Supreme Court, in fact, threw light as to how, while there being a whip, while there was already there was a leader from the party with the number game going in the favor of Eknath Shinde, the court case went in his favor, which is why in order to avoid any kind of such repercussion later on, we're seeing that NCP is laying out solid groundwork. NCP with Sharad Pawar is laying out a very solid groundwork, and going further, that's why they've approached the Election Commission and also the Speaker of the Assembly.
How have the other Ghadi leaders reacted to this, also beyond this, considering the fact that posters have been raised about Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray coming together? What have the other Ghadi leaders really said about these developments?
So other Ghadi leaders, when like we speak of, for that matter, for Shiv Sena, or in fact for that matter of Congress, we've seen a lot of them raising questions on the stance taken by Ajit Pawar. We're also seeing that some of these leaders who are a part of the coalition have already spoken to Sharad Pawar, extending support to them. So here the stance of Mahavikas Aghadi leaders is quite clear that they are supporting Sharad Pawar. On the other hand, when we've spoken to various of our sources in BJP, they've said that as of now the stance for BJP is quite clear that they would want to go ahead for an election under Eknath Shinde as the chief minister. So here there's a clear-cut divide. We've seen that be it Congress or be it for that matter the Shiv Sena with Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray, they have clearly extended support to Sharad Pawar. Some of them also stating that it is the future of Eknath Shinde which looks bleak with NCP coming forth. And this is something that we've also seen is a stance that has been taken by leaders who are a part of Sharad Pawar camp. They've also stated that the future of Eknath Shinde looks bleak because clearly there were people with Eknath Shinde. There were party leaders with Eknath Shinde. There were several ministers who were expecting that with the expansion of cabinet taking place, they will get some more key portfolios. However, now with NCP coming in, their chances look bleak because the expansion would now have to accommodate NCP leaders. Which is where, while there is a strong MVA that we see, though the number game with the MVA is not very clear. Let us understand that the number game right now seems dicey about how many leaders, how many key positions or how many MLAs that the MVA still has, considering that it has been Ajit Pawar's faction which has clearly been stating that they have support of more than 40 people. But as of now, there is nothing on ground to claim that these 40 people are with Ajit Pawar. On the other hand, when you speak of Sharad Pawar's faction, they seem quite confident, and according to them, there is the entire game, the entire strategy of what really took place yesterday would be revealed only in the next 2 days. So here, the question, of course, also raises about something that we've already discussed, about whether Sharad Pawar was in the know-how of what was really taking place. Because let us understand that while Ajit Pawar had clearly stated a few weeks back that he does not want to be the leader of opposition, he wants a key position in NCP. Apart from that, Patil, who was appointed as a working president by Sharad Pawar, has also gone in with Ajit Pawar. This in fact raises quite a lot of questions about whether all this that took place was under the blessings of Sharad Pawar. This is something that we've seen has been reiterated by various people saying who are with Ajit Pawar, saying that everything that's taking place is with the blessings of everyone in NCP involved. So here there are various speculations that are being made right now, but we're too premature to in fact conclude as to what really is taking place in the NCP and Maharashtra politics on the large as a whole. Yeah.
Now, after the coup by Ajit Pawar, one of the MNS leaders, Lakshman Patil, has put up banners near the Shiv Sena Bhavan. The banner asks Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray to come together. And beyond this, there's some more breaking news coming in. There are also posters which are being raised in Nagpur calling Devendra Fadnavis Maharashtra's Chanakya. We're crossing over to CNN News 18's Yasha Kotak to get us more on these two breaking developments. Yasha, let's just talk about the first one, about the banners put up by MNS leader Lakshman Patil. Essentially, it asks Uddhav and Raj Thackeray to come together.
Yes, the banners that have been put out have actually come out very close to the Shiv Sena Bhavan. Now here, he's requesting both Uddhav and Raj Thackeray to come together. In fact, he also mentioned that amidst the political turmoil in Maharashtra, the only option that they have is if Uddhav and Raj Thackeray come together. Now, this is something that's come out in near Shiv Sena Bhavan, and this is amidst the fact that Uddhav Thackeray has, as of now, not really spoken about the coup in NCP. But yesterday, when Sharad Pawar was addressing the media, he said that he had a word with Uddhav Thackeray. In fact, even Sanjay Raut ended up saying that he has spoken to Sharad Pawar. As of now, the Shiv Sena, which is a major coalition with was in a coalition with NCP, they formed a government here. There's only Sanjay Raut who's spoken about it. Of course, we saw Arvind Sawant, the MP from Shiv Sena, also speak about it. But Uddhav Thackeray himself has not.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. Now, violent protests that have shaken France in response to the killing of a 17-year-old by the hands of the police officer have entered the sixth day. Hundreds of more arrests have been made amid nationwide protests that have turned into blatant rioting. This comes after protesters have torched thousands of cars, vandalized both public and private infrastructure, and have clashed with the police. Protesters have also attacked the house of mayor of a Paris suburb yesterday, injuring his wife and young child. French President Emmanuel Macron postponed a state visit to Germany that was to begin on Sunday due to this unrest. Meanwhile, Nahel's grandmother, while giving an interview to the French channel, this is the boy who was killed by the police officer, has pleaded rioters to stop after 5 nights of unrest. Now, the issue is that violent French protests have also reached neighboring countries in Belgium and Switzerland. Crashes broke out with officers as people in the Swiss city of Lausanne held a demonstration at the weekend. Cops had to resort to Molotov cocktails as protesters allegedly threw bricks and smashed windows. Protesters also clashed with police in Brussels on Thursday, where police arrested 64 people. The rioters were seen chanting "Justice for Nahel" in the Belgian capital as well. The big issue that we're debating is that this is not the first time that any of these countries are really seeing these intercultural rioting or clashes. And the big fundamental question that arises is multiculturalism that Europe countries had fought for and were known for failing in the continent. Let's go across to our guest joining us. Sushant Sareen is Senior Fellow, ORF. David Shazan is a journalist joining us live from Paris. David, can I begin by getting your sense of how it is in Paris and overall in France?
Well, we've had 6 nights of rioting and we've seen some awful scenes in Paris, Marseille, and other towns and cities all the way across the country. But last night, things were relatively quiet. There were fewer clashes, a lot less violence and vandalism, certainly less looting. So we are getting a sense now that things are beginning to calm down and that the authorities are getting a grip on it. They've deployed 45,000 police officers across the country to deal with this. So it's really serious. As you were saying, President Macron had to cancel a state visit. And there's a sense that trying to quell the rage on the streets is gobbling up all of the president's attention to the point where nothing much else is being dealt with at the moment. But nevertheless, tentative optimism that things are beginning to calm down.
Before I go to Sushant, can I also understand from you, David, while it's always been a little bit of a problem, the assimilation of the immigrant population, especially the refugee population that countries like France and others took in, do you believe that socially this is becoming a big issue, that there are now more and more people who are willing to say that this did not work for us?
I think it's a huge issue, and I think it's been a big issue for decades. I covered a previous set of riots, which lasted for 3 weeks, 18 years ago. And the things I heard from people in the gritty suburbs where there are rows and rows of tower blocks, you know, sort of fairly low quality public housing, apartment blocks where the lifts often don't work, poorly maintained. People who live in these areas complain of poor public services. Young people say they face discrimination when they apply for jobs. Schools in these areas are not necessarily as good as they are in other areas. And young people say they're far more likely than white people to be stopped and searched by the police. And when they do have an interaction with the police, they're far more likely to face police violence or brutality. Now, I think these grievances are justified. I think France really needs to take a good, hard look at how it deals with ethnic issues. But I'm not sure that the government's always willing to listen to complaints like this, because we've been hearing from UN human rights officials that they believe there's a systemic issue of racism and discrimination in policing in France. Now, the government's reacted angrily. It says, no, there's no systemic racism. So what do? I mean, if you want to solve a problem, you have to acknowledge first that there is a problem.
Okay. Sushant, the other, of course, the flip side to that is that there are people who for many, many years and possibly many decades, as David is saying, have been talking about how there is a lack of assimilation, let's say, amongst the African Muslim migrants that have come to a lot of these European countries. And there seems to be some sizable anger building up for this whole open border policy. Do you believe that it is political correctness that is keeping politicians and others from really talking about how this has not worked, this experiment has failed?
Well, no, I don't think it is really, because
David, just sorry to interrupt you. That question is for Sushant. Yes, Sushant, go ahead.
Yeah, Shivani, clearly that experiment has not succeeded, and we are seeing the effects of the failures of that particular experiment. You can call it by whatever name you want to call it, multiculturalism, assimilation, or whatever other term you want to coin for it. It hasn't succeeded, at least in the whole of Europe, because France might be a particularly bad case of what's happening, but I don't think any of the other Western European countries are any better off. Now, I agree with what David was saying, that you have to first acknowledge that there's a problem. The question is, what exactly is the problem? Have you been able to identify the problem as a whole, or are you only looking at one side of the problem and not the other side of the problem? Now, clearly, what has been happening over the last couple of days is indicative of a social, political, and economic, and administrative, and most of all an intellectual failure in many of these countries. Okay, you might not have seen the same kind of violence in Britain, but some of the scenes which you see happening in Britain of street violence, number one, number two, of these guys marching and making blood-curdling calls, threatening Jews, threatening Hindus. you never expected that to happen in Britain. And
there are allegedly no-go areas as well. There are no-go areas developing in a lot of these countries. And then how can you complain about police not giving you enough protection?
Exactly. And Shivani, the problem then is that a kind of a license is given with political correctness. Now, for example, just today or yesterday or today, I remember reading in, the Guardian, which is supposed to be this flag bearer of liberal politics, is actually justifying the rioting, the burning, the arson in France. And they are saying this is, consider this to be reparations for colonialism. Now, okay, colonialism was a very nasty side of history. But are you then saying that, okay, fine, we are going to take revenge for that? Is that the argument? We've seen similar arguments in the United States, where one of the CNN anchors had asked this question, where is it written that protests have to be always peaceful, that they can't be violent? This is when that entire Black Lives rioting was taking place. Right. Black Lives Matter rioting.
So you're saying that
you had these kind of people offer justification, and frankly, this is really problematic and troublesome. And this is not now limiting itself to France.
Yeah, I was going to come to exactly that question. Now, the question that does...
in Montreal, for example.
The question that arises is that, one, is there license to riot that is given to a certain section? Because as Sushant was pointing out, now Indians have been ruled by colonial British masters. Will it be okay for the Indian community to riot in Britain? And will they also get the sanction in the name of colonialism? I really doubt that. But in any case, David, the question I also wanted to ask you was, now people are questioning, okay, this happened in France, but why are these riots spilling in Belgium, in Switzerland? And is rioting the answer to the justice that is being demanded for?
Well, remember, France has borders with both Belgium and Switzerland, and the areas of those countries where there has been trouble, it's only been fairly limited, to be honest, but those areas are French-speaking. So they're kind of culturally connected to France. They know about what's going on in France. And I think the minority communities in those areas, particularly people of Arab, Muslim, African descent, feel much as many of the young people here in France do, that they're not getting a fair crack of they're not getting fair opportunities, because even if they're third or fourth generation immigrants, they say France, or probably Switzerland and Belgium too, doesn't fully accept them as being French. And these are people who are really more culturally French than anything else.
But is it not true, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I take your point that yes, there must be some institutional differences or perceived differences, even if not legal differences, that make people feel alienated. But is it not true? And I want to ask you that Nail, this young boy in question, had a record?
He had been stopped driving a car several times. Now, he was 17 years old. This is a country where you cannot get a driving license until you're 18. Yeah. So was he a boy who disobeyed the rules? It looks like he probably was. Okay. And I don't think he'd been punished particularly harshly. So I think what you're getting at, you were talking about no-go areas. There are areas in the deprived neighborhoods of France that are very difficult for police to operate in, because youth unemployment is extremely high as 40% in some areas, and the drug gangs operate very heavily in these districts.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. So, David, I'll just stop you short there so that I can give 30 seconds to Sushant, who wanted to come in. But that brings me to a fundamental question itself. You took in a lot of people, but you didn't have space for them, whether it's creating enough opportunities for them or assimilation for them. And that's the fundamental question. Then did that policy of taking people in without considering whether they'll be fully, they'll get all the opportunities, is whether this has failed. But Sushant, I have 30 seconds only, please, your final thoughts.
Yeah, Shivani, very quickly, I don't think that it's simply a matter that you've taken in enough people and you can't cater for them. I think the problem is, look at the Indian community. It's as if racism does not affect Indians. But the Indians, whether in Britain or in any other part of Europe, have gone out there. They have faced up to the racism. They have faced up to the discrimination.
Yes.
They have faced up to everything which has been thrown at the others. And yet, by sheer dint of hard work, by sheer, perseverance, they've have raised
the ranks. Okay, I'm sorry, Sushant, I've run out of time. Sorry, I'm run out of time. We will try to look into this issue in deeper concern later as well. Time for me to take your leave. My colleague Anand is joining you.
Namaste and Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. A massive debate is currently underway across the country over the Common Civil Code or the Uniform Civil Code. There are a lot of theories that are doing the rounds, but in this edition of The Right Stand, we will try and bring to you what the law actually offers, what the law will change and how it will impact our lives. Here on The Right Stand, we will attempt to bust all the myths and bring to you the bare facts of the Common Civil Code. But before that, ahead of the Parliament showdown, the Parliament panel today chaired a meet with the Law Commission over the Uniform Civil Code. The panel met all stakeholders, and top sources tell News18 that the opposition actually questioned the NDA government's hurry on implementing One Nation, One Law, or the Saman Achar Samhita as it's called, and said that the law is being brought keeping in mind the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. The BJP and the NDA, however, debunked these claims and said that the law is for a progressive India. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it's after 9 years of the Modi Sarkar that the government is actually talking about a uniform civil code, something that's been enshrined in Article 44 of our Constitution, and our founding fathers have envisaged it back in the 50s itself, and we are in 2023. But let's get to what the talk is and the debate is around the Uniform Civil Code and what it actually impacts. Here is what it will impact if the Common Code is implemented. 5 aspects of civil contracts among citizens of our country: marriage, divorce, maintenance, inheritance, adoption, succession of property, so that's inheritance. So these are the dynamics that will be covered largely under the ambit of a Common Civil Code or a Uniform Civil Code. And here's what the UCC will not affect. The most important is that implementing a uniform code doesn't mean imposing majority code on minorities. It doesn't do that. UCC won't impact your social status. It doesn't change that. It will not impact on your affirmative status, that is reservation. UCC will not impact on your living, that is how you worship or your culture. And UCC doesn't affect the traditions you have grown up with or the rituals you follow for weddings. Vidhi nahi badlegi, par vidhan ek hoga. That's the simple description in terms of, can we follow our own processes for marriage? Yes, you can, but the rules will be common for everyone in terms of what will bind that contract. In the UCC, is the UCC need of the hour? Does India really need a common code? Now, here are some of the reasons. One law for the country in civic matters. It will propel society towards equality. Men and women will get equal rights in family structure, social structure, equal partnership for men and women in marriage, a common law to govern a secular nation, a boost for gender justice and women's rights, and it is needed to end child marriages and polygamy. And of course, dysfunctional laws in the current day and age, personal laws in the current day and age, ladies and gentlemen. As told by the government, the Uniform Code, if implemented, will replace laws for all communities. For example, for the Hindu community, the Hindu Disposition of Property Act 1916 goes away. The Hindu Marriage Act 1955 will get impacted. Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956 gets impacted. Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act 1956 gets impacted. Hindu Succession Act 1956 gets impacted. The Indian Divorce Act 1869. For the Muslims, the Musalman Waqf Act 1923, Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act 1937, Dissolution of Muslim Marriages Act 1939, Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986, and the Qazis Act 1880. For the Christians, Indian Divorce Act 1869, Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872, Indian Succession Act 1925, and Marriage Dissolution Act 1936. Other laws like Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929, Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936, the Anand Marriage Act for 1909 for Sikhs, all these will get impacted. They may perhaps be debunked or defunct because you have a common civil code. It's not only India. Several other nations have a UCC. The United States, Italy, France, Ireland, Australia, Canada. Then, Islamic nations in the world usually have a combination of civil laws based on traditional Shariat law, but it's a common law. Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Egypt, Malaysia. So it's a common civil code based on Shariat in the Islamic nations and otherwise based on the principles of democracy in all these nations. Many people suggest that UCC is against Constitution, but nothing could be further from the truth because it's enshrined in the Indian Constitution. Article 44 lays down that states shall endeavour to secure a UCC for the citizens throughout the territory of India. What is UCC? Basically, one law for all religious communities in personal matters such as marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption. This is one of the directive principles of state policy. It is not enforceable by any court, but principles laid down are fundamental in governance. The Prime Minister has highlighted that even the courts have time and again spoken about a UCC. Here's what the courts have said. Supreme Court during the Shabano case, a common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to law which have conflicting ideologies. Supreme Court in the Sarla Mudgal case said where more than 80% of citizens have already been brought under codified personal law, there is no justification whatever to keep in abeyance anymore the introduction of UCC for all citizens in India. 2019, the Supreme Court said founders of the Constitution hoped and expected that the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territories of India. Till date, no action has been taken in this regard. Justice Prabha M. Singh of Delhi High Court in 2021 said, in modern Indian society, which is gradually becoming homogeneous, the traditional barriers of religion, community and caste are slowly dissipating. UCC should not remain a mere hope. Those backing the laws claim that Uniform Code celebrates diversity and strengthens unity. Common civil law for all citizens, promoting national integration and secularism, would foster a sense of unity and harmony among diverse communities, would enable interfaith marriages and relationships without any legal hurdles or social stigma. Argument 4, gender justice will empower women throughout uniformity, no polygamy, unequal inheritance. Argument 5, streamlining laws for legal efficiency, single code to replace complex and overlapping laws. Argument 6, this would enhance clarity, ease of implementation and reduce the burden on the judiciary, ensuring more efficient legal system. The 7th argument, UCC can be seen as a sign of modern progressive nation, implying that it has moved away from caste and religious-based politics. But the misinformation that's doing the round, ladies and gentlemen, plot against minorities living in India, false. Interference in religious matters, false. The aim to wipe out cultural diversity in India. Minorities can't run educational institutions. All these are false claims. Listen in to what Union Minister Piyush Goyal and also Arif Mohammad had to say.
Absolutely for the Uniform Civil Code. We are waiting to see what shape it takes, how it comes up. Uttarakhand had set up a very high-level committee headed by Justice retired Srimati Ranjana Desai. They've come out with a report. Let us see how that works. Let us see how the public reacts to that report. And let the situation evolve. I think people are jumping the gun too much. Ultimately, it's a directive principle of the Constitution. 5 times the Supreme Court has suggested to the governments of the day that this is something which will be good for India, which is the need of the hour, and which will bring more cohesion to the nation's polity.
If Muslim personal law is so integral to the practice of Islam, why Muslim people do not take a stand and issue a fatwa that no Muslim should live in countries where personal law is not enforced? Why everybody wants to run to USA? Why they are going to Europe? No personal law is there. So Islam can live, Muslims can live in USA without personal law, in Europe without personal law, India, in Pakistan without personal law. the process of reform of Muslim person, traditional Muslim person, is started in late 20th century. And all the Arab countries, they have changed their laws.
Strong statement there, and point well made by both Piyush Goyal and also the Kerala Governor Arif Mohammad Khan. Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, with me here in the studio. Ramnik Maan, activist, with us. And we also have Waris Pathan, spokesperson and former MLA of the AIMIM. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Waris Pathan. आरिफ मोहम्मद खान साहब के बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे? फतवा जारी कर दो, दुनिया भर में कोई मुसलमान वहां ना रहे जहां पर्सनल लॉ नहीं है. यूएस में रह सकते हैं, यूरोप में रह सकते हैं, हिंदुस्तान में क्यों नहीं?
खान साहब रिटायर आदमी है, रिटायर आदमी, उनको कोई सीरियस लेता नहीं है, जाने दो. लेट मी टेल यू, यूसीसी इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. In 2018, the Law Commission clearly said that there is no need of the UCC in our country and there should be no argument in for 10 years. Why Modi wants to get the UCC now? We have been following the constitution given to us by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar since last 70 plus years. There are all articles which guarantees right to equality, freedom, especially Article 29 of the constitution speaks about pluralism and diversity, which is the basic structure of our constitution. What will happen to that? Will Modi remove that? And as earlier I said, that there are Special Marriages Act, which you also said in your commentary. What will happen to that act? Like earlier marriage is the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Muslim Personal Law Act 1987, the Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872, Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1937. So will this UCP come and this everything will be shunted off forward? In Mizoram, there is a special status given to the NPF. They are in tie-up alliance with the BJP since 2003 and they have said that no, we will not be supporting the UCC. So what is the benefit of getting the UCC? Now the BJP spokesperson will talk about Article 44. Article 44 says shall endeavor. Charcha hona chahiye. It's not that must implement. It's not mandatory. So why charcha? We don't know what is there in the draft.
No, sir. It doesn't say shall endeavor. It says must endeavor. State shall endeavor to secure a UCC for the country. That is what it says. Yes, state shall endeavor.
The state shall endeavor.
But sir, you can't endeavor for 75 years, na sir.
Charcha hona chahiye.
75 साल से endeavor ही करते रहेंगे.
But then what is the use of getting the UCC? Will by implementing the UCC, the youth of the country who are unemployed will get employment? Will by implementing the UCC, the petrol diesel prices which are going to skyrocket, will they come down? Will the rupee which is equal to dollar is gone down, will it be stabilized? No. So what is the benefit of the UCC? What about the HUF, Hindu Undivided Family, which is getting a rebate of more than 3,000 crore rupees? What will happen to them? What will happen in Maharashtra state or in India? There are several states where cow is yummy, in some state it is mummy. What will Modi do with that? So this is nothing but to have.
Cow doesn't come into UCC, sir. आपके खाने पे नहीं परहेज करेगा, आपके खाने पे common code नहीं लाएगा UCC. You're making some valid arguments. So let's stick on the let's stick on the argument saying okay, yes, Shehzad Poonawalla.
Have you seen the draft of the UCC? Kindly tell me.
Sir,
have you seen the draft of the UCC?
Sir, the common code applies to the basic civil contract, sir. It does not come to your choice of food. So let's keep the argument sane here, Waris Pathan. You made some very strong points. Let Shehzad Poonawalla respond to that.
Let me begin with the last argument, and I hope Waris ji will not interrupt me like I have heard him patiently. At least we should have uniform debate code. Waris ji, आपने बोला draft कहाँ है? Draft तो NRC का भी नहीं देखा था, फिर भी विरोध पर उतर आए, और draft NRC का आज भी नहीं है, फिर भी उसका विरोध करते हैं. आपकी जो मंडली और जमात है उसको ड्राफ्ट के बगैर ही विरोध करने की आदत है, और विरोध आपके मन में है. लेट मी टेल यू व्हाई. लॉ कमीशन का आपने जिक्र किया. आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 2019 में, व्हाट हैज सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेड इन 2019, एंड ऑब्वियसली सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज हायर देन लॉ कमीशन. लॉ कमीशन's findings are not even binding. But Supreme Court has said a common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to laws which have conflicting ideologies. Pratibha Rani of High Court of Delhi has said that it should not remain a mere hope. Chandrachud ji's father, Y.V. Chandrachud, has said कि it should never become a dead letter. And आपके बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर, हमारे बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर, जो आपके जय मीम से आगे जय भीम डालते ना, उन्होंने कहा आर्टिकल 44 को अर्थात यूसीसी को लागू करना चाहिए. अच्छा, यूसीसी से मिलेगा क्या? यू आस्क यूसीसी से क्या मिलेगा? अरे यूसीसी से कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला था. तो आपकी मनपसंद वाली पार्टी कांग्रेस पार्टी, व्हेन इट इन्वोक्ड द यूसीसी इन गोवा, तो क्या मिल गया? वो तो 60 के दशक में किया. और यूसीसी जब संविधान सभा ने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में डाला तो क्या मिल गया? और हिंदू लॉ तो 1950s में रिफॉर्म हो गया. तो उसकी आप वकालत और पैरवी क्यों करते हो? UCC is meant not for uniform dress code. It is not meant uniform rivaj code. It does not mean कि कल टोपी डालना बंद कर देना है, दाढ़ी डालना बंद कर देना है. Tomorrow it will become uniform prayer code or uniform religious code. You can't say salam or you have to say Jai Shri Ram. Nothing. It is only uniformity in front of law under Article 14, that if you break the law, you do not get any patronage of any personal law. For example, Varisji, you have a son and a daughter. I know you personally. I have great regard and love for you also. Varisji, would you get your daughter married below the age of 18? No, I think you are a responsible father. But I tell you that if some boy is getting married, who's 50 years old man is getting married to 8-year-old girl, should that family or that person not be punished? In Hindus, it is there. The punishment is there. If a Hindu does it, he gets punished. But if somebody else does it, they get protection, and the 8-year-old girl can be brutalized by that 50-year-old man, and there is